For today's video, I'm going to show you how to fold clothes to save space. My goal is that by the end of this video, you will be able to reduce the amount of space your clothes need by about half. But in order for me to teach you all of this, I will need your attention for the duration of the video. It should be about 25 minutes or so. So sit down and make yourself comfortable and let's get started. So if you've been following my channel, you know that I'm pretty obsessed with folding. And for about the last year or so, I've been making videos on how to fold clothes. Every day my videos help thousands of people learn how to fold clothes with an emphasis on how to save space. And today I'm going to share the top 3 things that you need to learn in order to save space with your clothes. Let's start out by a personal favorite of mine. So when you fold clothes to save space, right? The thing is that you don't really want to fold them. You see here? This is a folded piece of clothing and this is a rolled piece of clothing. Can you see the huge difference in size? Now this is a pretty well-kept secret among travelers. For some reason, organizing people, they don't know about it, but I'm here to share it with you. So look at this, the huge difference here. This is a pretty common way that the organizers will fold their clothes. It's called file folding, but even this is horrible compared to the roll, right? I'm going to teach you a lot about how to fold, but I want to just show you why. So as a traveler, you really want to compress the things that you travel with down to the lowest volume possible, right? And rolling clothes always comes out on top. Rolled clothes, they don't create any wrinkles. If you look at this, for example, this is a standard just flat fold t-shirt here. Can you see how many places it's folded? Like there are so many places. So if you squeeze these really tight, you're gonna end up with a bunch of wrinkles on your shirt. If you squeeze this one really tight, nothing happens. So these can be compressed down really nicely. Now, of course, for travel, you also have packing cubes. However, for dressers, there is a thing that I'm going to teach you how to use later as well. That works a lot better than packing cubes for dressers for organization purposes, but also space saving. Well, yeah, I've been a traveler for the past 6-7 years now, pretty much half the year out traveling. But when the lockdown happened, right, I couldn't travel anymore. I know that you didn't know me about a year ago, but I didn't have a very organized dresser. I had one of those that you would have to pry it open just to be able to see what was stuffed inside. And I used this flat fold. At home, that is. But for my traveling things, I roll them. I always roll them. So when I took and emptied out my bag and put all my rolled things into the dresser amongst the folded stuff, something ding, clicked in my head. And I think that's where my obsession with folding came from. And when I get interested in something, I get really interested, like weirdly interested. So I started reading. I read like all the popular folding and organizing books. I started watching all these influencers to see what they had to say. But my problem with all these people is that nobody suggested the rolls. Everybody were talking about this stuff. This is file folding. It's very with the times with all these folding gurus and all of this stuff. Now, that's not to say that nobody talks about rolling. That's not true. I've seen a lot of military people love to recommend this, but also other travelers. So that's why it's like kept in this different area than the organizers. So I promised to teach you how to roll stuff, right, a little bit earlier. So before we move on to the next big thing that you need to know about, I want to show you how to roll stuff. So I think we're gonna do, let's do one of the t-shirt, and I also brought in some socks here that I will show you. Let's start with the pants. I'm going to put the pants here face up like this. And this method is the simplest one. It's usually very good for avoiding wrinkles. So I'm going to fold it over in half like this, so that the back side faces up. On men's jeans, you usually have this, this crotch area here. They're not as common on women's jeans and pants and shorts, everything really. You can fold it in if you want like this, but it usually creases this area a little bit. So it's kind of, you have to decide yourself. For nicer pants, I usually avoid it since I really want them to be wrinkle-free. So let's just leave it out for the example. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to start rolling the pants. So I usually like to start rolling from the heaviest point and then rolling it down. When you roll, you kind of want to flatten it out as you roll so that you avoid wrinkles. And let's just roll, roll, roll. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different grip you can use on the t-shirt afterwards that will be very effective for avoiding wrinkles as well. So once you reach the bottom here, that's really all there is for this simple fold, but it does take up slightly more space than the next one that I am going to show you on the t-shirt. So let's do that one. So I'm going to start by placing the t-shirt here with the face up like this. It's going to lay it out nice and flat. And from here I'm going to fold in the arms on both sides. Try to make it as straight and even as possible. If it's a little bit crooked, it doesn't matter. And the next step is that we're going to create a pocket here at the bottom of the fold. So how we do this is that we turn the t-shirt inside out at the bottom. Now how much space that you need down here at the fold depends a lot on what type of clothing you use. If you use a big, thick type of clothing, you usually need to give it more space than a t-shirt. A t-shirt you can usually get away with pretty much anything. Maybe 2 inches should be more than enough for a large t-shirt like this one. So once you've folded it over, just fold it back down like this and make sure it's even on both sides. The next step is that you can either split it into 4 parts like this, or you can split it into 3 parts. So it really depends on you. For t-shirts in particular, I like to split it into 3 parts because that will create a thicker and shorter roll. If you split it into 4 parts, you'll create a taller and thinner roll. Both have its advantages, but for the example, let's do 3. So I'm going to split it down in 3 down here, and I'm going to fold one side in 1/3 of the way. So just grip it at the top and the bottom and fold it down like this. And the other side, we are going to fold it on top of this side, like this. There we go. So at this point, you have this little pocket facing towards you. You want it facing away from you. So I'm going to turn the t-shirt around like this and just kind of straighten it out. So here's a little trick that I want to show you. You can take your little crabby grip here, so your index and thumb, and you place it on the shirt, and then you can use the rest of your finger to kind of straighten out as we start rolling up from the neck down like this. Now this t-shirt is very friendly and doesn't wrinkle up much, so that's great. So let's roll it all the way down over the fold like this. Once you reach the bottom here, take one of your hands and lift up the entire roll like this. And you see this pocket that we created here? We're going to take it and we're going to wring it over the rest of the roll here. So I like to hold the bottom of one side and take my other hand and flip it over like this. At this point you can adjust it a little bit if it's not even. This may take a couple of tries at first. It's a little bit difficult to do this. So take your other hand at this point and hold on to the side that you folded over. Let go, turn it around. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So flipping it over the rest of the t-shirt, adjust it a little bit. If it looks crooked like this, you can take your index finger here or thumbs. Just hold on. Let's do the index finger. So I'm going to hold on with thumbs on the back, stick my index finger inside this little pocket, just stretch it out, give it a little bit of a massage if you want to make it look nice and even like this. So this method is fantastic. This is going to hold together really nicely as well, compared to the pants, which fall apart more easily, takes up less space than the pants, but wrinkles slightly more. So let me show you the socks as well. I'm really excited about this one. So I call this block rolling. It will be apparent later on in the video why. I just came up with this method actually not too long ago while I was preparing for the block rolling course, where I show you how to roll and fold clothes to save space. Got a lot of good feedback on this one. So we want to start out by placing the socks here with the heel down like this. And then I'm going to take the other sock with the heel down again and place it on top of this one. So at this point, we're going to take the top sock and we're going to fold it out 90 degrees like this. Which direction doesn't really matter. But you want to make sure that it lands at about the heel here, a little bit over the middle of the sock. like this. If you have longer socks, you need to adjust the fold further up. So now I'm going to turn it around so that I have the toes facing down towards me, like this. And I'm going to start with my crabby grip again here and roll up along the sock. Now, like this. Just roll over the 90-degree fold here until you reach the top. And again, once you reach the top, take your hand and grab hold of the entire roll and lift it up like this. At this point, you're going to take your other hand here and you're going to put it inside the band here and stretch out your fingers. At this point, you're going to flip it down over the rest of the sock like this. If it looks uneven, feel free to adjust it slightly. But here you have a beautiful little rose. Now, folding is really important, but I have two more things that I need to show you before you go off and fold. Alright, so the next really important tip that I want to share with you is that actually it matters a lot where you place the clothes in a dresser and how you group them together. So usually I like to stack my clothes vertically instead of horizontally. The main reason is that you get a lot more surface when you place them vertically. It's a little bit difficult to explain this, so I think I want to take you into my dresser and show you my well, my clothes basically. But just so you know that, if I'm going to show you my dresser, this is a real life dresser. This is my clothes. This isn't some thing that I've prepared or some Instagram picture that I've color graded for 20 minutes. This is actually a real life dresser. Alright, so welcome to my dresser here. This is where I keep all my clothes. So I think for the purpose of the video, let's start in the middle one so I can explain a little bit. So here you can see it's about mid-cycle in my cleaning, in my laundry routine. So you see I have a bunch of them stacked vertically, but I also have some laying down horizontally. So the reason why is that these are bigger, and also you need to fit the things in your dresser depending on how big your things are, right? So for example, if I had a bunch of these shirts, I probably would stack them also vertically like these ones. However, I only have a few. Also, I keep the sweaters in here. So I kind of planned that I will keep all the sweaters laying down like this. Also have some shirts here. But you can see like how much of a difference this makes compared to if you would have everything just laying flat on top of each other. This is a lot easier to see what's in here. They're kind of split into different sections depending on what is in here. So the vertical ones are definitely the most organized while also saving the most amount of space. There is another thing that I want to mention, and that is that I use these little blocks here. There are a lot of different options. Some use drawer dividers. I use these. But to be honest, you don't really need to spend anything on this. You're just as well off by just using some shoe boxes or even some plastic boxes if you have it. Actually, in the block rolling course, my folding course, I show how to make this from just some cardboard too. And it works totally fine. You don't really need to spend big on this. But the reason that I use it is that, this is my underwear drawer by the way, is that you're able to stack the rolls a lot better. It gives the rolls a lot of support so that they can stand on their own. Otherwise, if I didn't have it for the underwear, for example, it would be very easy that they fall down. But in these, they have the walls to support themselves. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that you should organize your things by how easy it is to reach them, with how often you use them. So for example, for the underwear and socks, I pull it out every day. While for example, the pants, which I keep at the bottom drawer here, I don't pull them out nearly as often. So it's a lot easier for me to bend down when I need pants every couple of days compared to the underwear, which I have to change every day. Another thing that I like to do for just organization, is just a bonus tip this really, is to organize depending on what type of fabric it is or what color it is. If you organize things, for example, all the black underwear together and all the white underwear and the blue socks and the black socks, for example, not very colorful, I know. It's gonna make it a lot easier for your mind to know where different things are. Also, just think about where you can fit some other things in between. So for example, here I keep a lot of other things the same size so that they fit in between the boxes here. Otherwise, this would be dead space with when you have blocks in there. So that is something you need to plan a little bit how you keep your clothes. So yeah, I'm gonna put some B-roll here so you can see how it looked before. And now you can see how it is after. Granted, this is mid-laundry cycle, but you can see how much easier it is to open and close the drawers. I've thrown out some clothes too, but this roll saves so much space. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that little look at my dresser there. I got one more really big tip to share with you. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit more about the course that I was mentioning earlier. So, what if I told you that you could, in one day, watch a step-by-step course that would allow you to halve the space your clothes take up and at the same time organize it. Like I said before, I used to have a very overstuffed dresser myself, to the point where I really hated doing laundry, and don't even get me started on waking up in the morning just have to pry open a dresser and dig through all the clothes to find the ones that I actually needed. But like I said, I've pretty much spent the last year researching and testing out everything there is to know about folding clothes, especially how to save space while folding clothes. And what I've done is that I've neatly packaged it into a step-by-step course that you can follow so you don't have to go through this entire process yourself. So how this is going to work is that we're going to take your really messy dresser and we're going to roll and organize all your clothes through a step-by-step guide, of course. And by the end of it, you will have a really neatly organized dresser. How I've structured this is in video lessons as well as a worksheet. So there will be 20 video lessons that you will follow. And then in the worksheet, there are like action steps that you will take. So you will watch one of the videos and then you'll have some action steps to take. And then you'll watch the lesson and action steps. But the thing about this worksheet is that I've also added illustrated step-by-step guides to every single role that I am going to teach you. So if you have any problems following the lessons, you can always refer back to the worksheet and you will know exactly what to do. Of course, you can always consult with me as well. I'll give you my email, so if you have any trouble with anything, you can always talk to me. But I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. As a bonus, I've also created a calculator for you where you will basically put in a little bit of information. And this calculator is going to spit out a bunch of information. It's basically going to tell you how many clothes you use between each wash cycle. And the idea is that these numbers you get will give you a lot of confidence and motivation to get rid of some of the excess clothes that you have in your dresser. So if you have like an old pair of pants that you no longer use, I hope you can kind of get rid of it, at least get motivated to do it after seeing these numbers. However, this is not an essential part of the course at all. You can go through it without throwing out anything, so don't worry about that. But like I said, I've spent the last year researching this, and it took me quite a while to get to a place where I'm happy with. So if you do have the opportunity to take the course, I would strongly recommend it, as I can get you there a lot quicker. And also you can probably avoid a lot of the mistakes that I ran into. Of course, if you don't have time to take the course, don't worry about it. It's still going to be there in half a year when you're free. One thing to keep in mind though is that the price is probably going to change a little bit. So if you're smart, you will go and get the course now while it's super cheap. So go and get the course right now. It's linked at the top of the description of the video as well as in the top pinned comment. So pause the video, go and get the course from now and come back and watch the rest of the video later. So if I remember correctly, I promised you 3 tips and we're only at 2 so far. So that means I got 1 left for you and I saved the best one for last. Okay. So you probably heard about purging, right? It's essentially that you look through all your things and you get rid of the ones that you no longer need or use, or you can donate them. So I want to share a less drastic measure that you can take, but I also want to give you some really good tips on purging that nobody talks about, and it annoys me so much. Okay, so the thing about purging, right? When you get rid of stuff, especially for your clothes for your dresser, what type of clothes you get rid of makes a huge difference. So if you get rid of 1 pair of socks, that is not the same as getting rid of a sweater. And nobody talks about this. All right, so look at this. This is a pair of socks and this is a sweater. Look at the 2. Which one do you think saves the most amount of space? Obviously the sweater, right? So how many pairs of socks do you have to get rid of to equal one sweater? Nobody talks about this. You could probably get rid of 10 pairs of socks before you even equal one sweater. So why does nobody talk about this? I don't know. But what I do know is that it's a lot easier to get rid of this thing that you don't care about than it is to get rid of this. What I am going to recommend to you is that you start getting rid of the big items. That means your sweaters, your jackets, your pants, your shorts. Any type of seasonal clothes is usually a good place to start because you usually have excess of those. For example, if you live in a hot place, you can get rid of thick jackets. If you live in Norway, you can get rid of some shorts, some swimming suits. This type of stuff is usually, you keep a lot more than you actually need. And it's often big items that's totally worth getting rid of. And now that's not to say that it's not worth getting rid of socks and this type of stuff. It's usually a good place to start to kind of warm up to get to the bigger things. Because getting rid of a sweater is kind of difficult compared to getting rid of a sock with a hole in it or a single sock, right? So usually you can start warming up by getting rid of a couple of socks and some underwear, maybe some undershirts that are tired. And then you work your way up to the bigger stuff. And you're going to see a huge improvement in your space in the dresser. Another thing that I would like to talk a little bit about is that doing a little bit of a less drastic thing than getting rid of things, and that is to move them into storage. So for a lot of things that you kind of use infrequently, it's not things that you want to get rid of, but at the same time they do take up significant amount of space in your dresser. So think, for example, for me, I would say tuxedo shirts and ties and this type of stuff. It's things that if I use a tuxedo shirt once a year, I would be happy, right? But I can't throw it out. For the ladies, maybe some formal dress that you keep in your wardrobe. One thing to keep in mind with these nice things is that it's usually nice to give them some protection. So you have like suit bags, and I think you have the same equivalent for dresses. These things are really nice because they keep your nice clothes from getting full of dust. And at the same time, they offer a little bit of protection, especially when you put them somewhere that they can get damaged. Maybe you put some boxes there and you don't notice. So give them a little bit of protection. Another thing, like if you don't have storage available, you can create there are many options. Like me personally, I created big storage under my bed. That won't really help for hanging a dress. However, if you have other things that you use infrequently, you could place them under the bed. For me, I know that I put a bathrobe and this type of stuff under the bed since I use it very infrequently. Alright, so while we're already getting so deep into this topic, I'm going to do a little bit of Q&A for you. I've collected a bunch of questions and I want to answer the most common ones, which you probably have as well. So let's just pick some of them here. I like the rolling techniques, but I am worried about wrinkles. Well, I am worried about wrinkles too. I'm just kidding. Okay, so the thing about wrinkles and rolling clothes is that the tighter you roll it, usually the more wrinkles you're going to get. So for example, for this, this is a simple roll. This one is going to get less wrinkles than the one with the pocket on it. The one with the pocket usually has more points where it can wrinkle up. Another thing you may want to keep in mind is that if you don't use the pocket, they usually tend to get a little bit bigger because when you use the pocket, they usually squeeze more together. So what I recommend to avoid wrinkles if you want to roll your clothes is that you roll with a simple roll as well as don't roll it too tightly. A happy medium is nice, right? That seems to be the best balance between saving space and avoiding wrinkles. I talk a lot about this in the course, which is linked down below and in the description. Alright, so the next question that I got is, I really liked the videos, but I wish there were more alternatives for women. So that's understandable. Well, I'm a man and I'm not really comfortable making videos about things that I haven't fully tested out, that I can't really endorse. However, now I've taken a lot of time now to practice folding for women's clothes and testing it out a lot. So I may do some women's clothing videos in the future actually. So look out for that. But for now, you'll have to go and watch the course if you want to see women's clothing. Again, linked below. Click the link if you want to take the course. The next question that I always get is, how can I store large items like puffy jackets, bathrobes, blankets, etc.? This is actually a really good question too, and I have an even better answer for it. So what I'm going to recommend to you here is that you use space-saving bags. Space-saving bags are fantastic for, especially for your duvets, your pillows. If you have jackets that are really puffy, you know, the down-like jackets, they compress really nice in the vacuum bags, and that's definitely something to try. It can save up to 4 or 5 times more space. If you have a dedicated linen closet, you can definitely fit a lot more in there if you use these techniques. As for your linens and blankets and this type of stuff, I recommend doing a space-saving fold. This will also reduce the space it takes up significantly. As for the storage, I store it under my bed. If you have a dedicated linen closet, again, you're going to be able to fit a lot more in there if you use space-saving folds and space-saving bags. Yeah, so do we have more questions? I have problems learning to fold t-shirts. Do you have any tips on how I can learn quicker? Okay, so so if you have any problems picking up on the techniques, I'm going to recommend that you go to the worksheet in the course and you look at the illustrated step-by-step instructions. There you can see exactly what you're going to do at each step, and that's probably going to help you the most besides the videos. Again, it's linked down in the description as well as in the pinned comment on top. Go take the block rolling course. Alright guys, so I know this has been a huge knowledge dump on you. Hopefully you have been able to pick up a lot of it. If you use these things, you should be able to significantly reduce the amount of space that your clothes take up. If you want it in a more structured way, go take the course. It's going to help you a lot, and I really mean that. Thank you so much for following the channel. This is pretty much the 1-year anniversary. I got a lot of cool stuff planned for the future as well. Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate the support. If you want to show some support for the channel, again, taking the course will definitely do that. So yeah, see you next week.